Puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgical procedures are now the new experiments carried out on children and young adults in the disguise of helping them become the right gender. This documentary showcases several individuals whose lives have been destroyed through their connection with the wicked and devilish LGBTQ+ agenda.
I lived 8 years as Laura Jensen until I woke up and realized that it was totally insane to live this out.
This is what I mean. This is how deep my voice is. It's gotten deeper over time, and it's settled. This is what I mean by hair loss. And it just keeps getting worse. It keeps thinning. It keeps receding backwards. This is what happens when you give a woman testosterone. This is for 5 years. This is what happens. I don't really see me personally being able to come back from what's happened.
My name is Kathy Grace Duncan, and I lived as a man for 11 years, and I transitioned out of that lifestyle 28 years ago.
I 100% feel like I was part of some cruel medical and social experiment.
I've now been living as a woman for 28 years, and I fully regret this.
I can't believe this happened. I ruined my life.
Genesis chapter 1 verses 27 to 28 says, "And God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it." As far back as the BCs, Plato planned and strategized satanic agenda for children of the state, and intended to have it consummated. They were going to have kids that will recognize no father or mother. They planned to have kids that will recognize no parentage.
But why were they going to raise them? See, that old philosopher's idea didn't change and hasn't changed. And that's still part of their agenda today. Now, they moved farther, insisting they can carry out their agenda of transgenderism on children without parental consent. So they can change the gender of a child from male to female, or female to male, or from one of them to both. Can you imagine that? Without parental consent.
In the world today, there is an agenda, a deliberate attack on the male and female gender. This agenda is geared towards subverting and transforming the family unit, creating sexual confusion, and normalizing gender dysphoria, while promoting and celebrating mental illness. The agenda has existed for decades, and in fact centuries, but recently, due to its successes, is now becoming more obvious and ostentatious to the point that some parents are openly, physically and pharmaceutically transgendering their children as young as 7 years old. All over North America, cross-dressers are setting up library story hours to passively push transgenderism on children. And through new school cyber bullying initiatives, LGBTQS with their army of outrage and pronouns, are becoming part of elementary curriculums.
Welcome to Queer Kid Stuff. I'm Lindsay and this is my best friend Teddy. Today we're talking about the T in LGBT. T stands for trans or transgender. There's something a bit weird about how doctors assign gender to babies. That's because there aren't only boys and girls, and because not all people identify with their assigned gender.
Oh, so the doctors are wrong sometimes?
Yes, Teddy. Sometimes doctors don't assign the right genders. When a person does not identify with the gender they're assigned when they're born, they are trans or transgender. People who are trans can be boys or girls or people too.
It's not true. It's a lie. I told you, you got to watch what's happening with your kids in school. Don't take this lightly. There's a lot happening in the schools. Many parents have no idea what their children are reading or learning or hearing in school. Engage them, especially the public schools. And of course, many of the private schools, depending on who's behind the private school. Something's going wrong. Watch this.
Listen, I went to the daycare the other day with a friend of mine to pick up my goddaughter. This is a daycare. Her daughter is 2 years old. We walk into the front of the school, and this is what's up on the board. And as you can see in the brown puzzle, it says sexual orientation. Come to find out, this particular school, which is the children's courtyard, they're all over the United States, and there are hundreds of them. I had a question. Why is sexual orientation, which is someone's preference for sex, listed on a bulletin board at a daycare for 2-year-olds? I was given the answer that it's all about diversity. And if we didn't like it, we could take our child out of that school and take her somewhere else. Listen, America, we're in trouble. It's time for us to wake up. Did you also know that in our schools now, they are allowing our children to be called by gender neutral names? If they go in and say, hey, I want to be called Jill and my name is really Jack, the teachers are doing it and they're not notifying the parents. What are your children being taught, and why are we allowing that to happen? But I think that it's important that we wake up and realize that this agenda is serious and we need to get serious in fighting it.
I told you then that this idea of the health officials insisting on vaccinating children without parental consent, I said, don't think it's all about vaccines. That was just their entry point. No, they weren't trying to vaccinate the children so that the children will become immune to disease. Do they love the children more than the parents? But they wanted to have the power to make choices for children without parental consent. And in some states and in some countries, they got it.
This agenda is a deliberate plot to destroy God's plan of creation, which is a man and woman producing offsprings. They plan to corrupt the human race through the attack on children. Some of these children are coming up with a condition known as gender dysphoria.
Gender dysphoria is a condition where a person's physical, biological sex is one, say a boy, but in the person's mind they think they're really a girl, or vice versa. It's not something that you can identify on any objective test. You can't do a blood test, for example. You can't do MRI imaging. You can't do genetic testing to actually find this gender identity. My name is Dr. Michael Laidlaw. I'm an endocrinologist in Rockland, California. This gender identity, which is really a child saying, I believe I'm this, I believe I'm a boy, I believe I'm a girl, something opposite of their body. Once they say that, they go down this road of gender affirmative therapy. That consists of social transition, wearing, say, stereotypical clothes of the opposite sex to pretend that they're the opposite sex, then these puberty blockers, then these cross-sex hormones, and then finally surgical modifications to the body to try to make the person appear that they're the opposite sex. Puberty blockers are powerful hormones. They act on a small gland in the brain called the pituitary, and this controls the sex organs. For example, testicles make testosterone, ovaries make estrogen, and the pituitary controls that happening. Now, these blockers stop this action, and then whereas, say, a girl is in age 9 and continuing or beginning to develop in puberty and should continue on until a full adult woman, it's stopped. Once you stop it, there are various harms and problems that occur afterwards.
One of the dire consequences of the cultural norming of transgenderism is the treatment of children who express confusion about their biological sex. At younger and younger ages, they are being encouraged to take part in what are called transition-affirming treatments that may be emotionally and physically damaging, and in some cases, irreversible. Medical treatments often used to treat children with gender dysphoria have not been proven safe. Serious questions remain, including whether such treatments may cause obesity and testicular cancer in males, and decrease bone and muscle growth and infertility in both sexes. No rigorous scientific studies exist to show the long-term physical or psychological effects of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormone treatments on normally developing children. None.
Chris Elston, better known by his alter ego Billboard Chris, is a father of 2 girls, and he says children should not be indoctrinated to believe they were born in the wrong body.
Children cannot consent to puberty blockers, and the sign on my back is one little playful. It normally is one that says the definition of a dad, which is a human male who protects his kids from gender ideology.
So what specifically is your view of gender ideology, and why do you think it is so dangerous for children?
So in a nutshell, my views are that there are 2 sexes, there are 0 genders, and there are infinite personalities.
Right.
Because that just captures all of us beautifully. There's no right way to be a boy or a girl. But this ideology teaches that just because a girl or a boy are gender nonconforming, if a girl wants to climb trees and play in the dirt and hates wearing dresses, well, guess what? She's a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
She's not a boy, she's not a trans boy, she's not anything other than what she is, which is a girl. And we need to abolish this entire ideology which teaches that stereotypes define who our kids are. Doctors have still sworn an oath to first do no harm. And if you got some 18-year-old who comes into your gender clinic who's struggling with trauma and abuse, and there might have been sexual abuse, or maybe they have autism, or who knows what's going on in their life.
Yes.
We don't just start cutting off body parts right away. We should be treating these underlying mental health comorbidities first.
To parents of transgender children, affirming your child's identity is one of the most powerful things you can do to keep them safe and healthy.
The truth of the matter is, that's a lie. It's not true. It's a deception and needs to stop now. As long as the child says it's okay, and then they are educating the children to accept it. And training the children to believe that they are more intelligent and more knowledgeable than their parents. And their parents have no idea of what's right for them.
Here is a woman well, I assume she's a woman. She looks like a woman to me, but she might have a penis. Who knows anymore? And the expert, her name is Jessie Pocock.
In terms of parents' rights to know at schools, I mean, here in Colorado, parents don't have the right. If a young person is questioning their gender or their sexuality, there are laws in place that say that they have the right to process that with their trusted counselor and so forth. In our community, the age of consent to mental health therapy is 12 years old.
She believes that we have people who are protecting and supporting kids. I could have sworn that was the job of the parent.
I spoke to one Australian mum this week who told me the heartbreaking story about her daughter, who has a long history of mental health issues, who fell in with one of these transgender organisations. The mum describes it as worse than a cult, who convinced the girl the answer to all her problems was to turn into a boy. And all the way along, the mum was sneered at by the medical profession for questioning the process. This is a disgrace. The family has been torn apart. The mum has been ostracised from her daughter, now supposedly her son. And when the mum spoke to one surgeon, this will sicken you, he admitted that 10 years ago he would never have, quote, chopped a girl's breasts off, but now it is all too common, unquote. This is out of control. We need a national inquiry to determine that the medical profession is properly regulated when it comes to transgenderism and our children.
Now, the High Court has ruled that children under 16 who say they want to change gender are unlikely to be able to give their informed consent to treatment with drugs that block puberty. The case was brought by a young woman who regretted her decision to have treatment and argued that a court order should be needed for children to take the medication.
For Kirabel, emerging from the High Court, this judgment was about decisions made as a teenager that started her on the road to transitioning from female to male. She argued she was too young to understand the impact of that treatment. The court agreed more checks are needed.
I'm delighted at the judgment of the court today.
It was a judgment that will protect vulnerable people. I wish it had been made for me before I embarked on the devastating experiment of puberty blockers.
At 16, Kira was desperate to be a boy. She was given drugs to delay puberty, then male hormones. Clinicians say for some children this is the right move, but Kira believes it was a mistake for her.
The discussions were very brief and there was no real investigation into why I had gender dysphoric feelings and how I got to that stage. I spoke briefly of depression and anxiety, but again it was kind of assumed by everyone that transitioning would alleviate that.
I think one of the things a lot of kids today are not taking into consideration is if you transition, you can never fully change sex. But then the narrative that I was hearing from trans activists and even medical providers was that if I didn't transition, I would probably kill myself. And given that I was someone who had already suffered from mental health issues in the past, I didn't want to risk that. I thought medical transition was my best option. I was prepared for my voice to get deeper, but nobody told me it would be painful to speak. Nobody told me it would feel like there was a barrier in my throat when I would go to vocalize. And I was having a bunch of health side effects as well. And I was feeling nauseous all the time, just starting to really not feel physically well. And so I just got to this breaking point where I was like, I'm not ready to go back to living as a woman, but I just know that I have to stop medically transitioning. This is not worth it to me at all anymore.
I decided that I didn't want to be a woman before I had ever even experienced being a woman. I had no idea what being a woman was like, because I was a child, and now I feel like I will never entirely know. I want to say that I really feel like some people in the trans community and the trans medicalists and the doctors really, really target the most vulnerable of us. I have borderline personality disorder, and I know for a fact that this is the reason for my transition. It's a very difficult mental illness, and one of the core features is not having any sense of self or identity, and my doctors knew this. I told them, even though they didn't ask, that I had been diagnosed with BPD. And it was all fine to them. I wasn't happy as a girl, so that meant I was a boy and I was trans. And so I just took the cure that was handed to me. I was told that I was being given a cure, and I wouldn't want to kill myself anymore. And it wasn't true. No, I didn't want to cry in this video, but this is such a hard thing to talk about. I lost a lot of things to this, and I just hope that anyone else who's going through what I went through as a young girl will not be prescribed hormones and surgery because of other things. You know, there are so many mental health disorders that make you hate your body, and the solution isn't to change your body, it's to fix your brain, you know? I just don't want anyone else to ever feel this way. I lost my voice, I lost my chest. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have kids. I feel like no one wants to love me because I'm ruined.
My name is Chloe Cole, and I am a detransitioner. Another way to put that would be, I used to believe that I was born in the wrong body, and the adults in my life whom I trusted affirmed my belief, and this caused me lifelong, irreversible harm. I speak to you today as a victim of one of the biggest medical scandals in the history of the United States of America. I speak to you in the hope that you will have the courage to bring the scandal to an end and ensure that other vulnerable teenagers, children, and young adults don't go through what I went through. When I was 13, I had my first testosterone injection. It's caused permanent changes to my body. My voice will forever be deeper, my jawline sharper, my nose longer, my bone structure permanently masculinized, my Adam's apple more prominent, my fertility unknown. I look in the mirror sometimes and I feel like a monster. I was perfectly healthy. There was nothing wrong with my still developing body or my breasts, other than that as an insecure teenage girl, I felt awkward about it. After my breasts were taken away from me, the tissue was incinerated. Before I was able to legally drive, I had a huge part of my future womanhood taken from me. I will never be able to breastfeed. I struggle to look at myself in the mirror at times. I still struggle to this day with sexual dysfunction. And I have massive scars across my chest, and the skin grafts that they took of my nipples are weeping fluid today, and they were grafted into a more masculine positioning, they said. After surgery, my grades in school plummeted. Everything that I went through did nothing to address my underlying mental health issues that I had. And my doctors, with their theories on gender, thought that all my problems would go away as soon as I was surgically transformed into something that vaguely resembled a boy. Their theories were wrong. The drugs and surgeries changed my body, but they did not and could not change the basic reality that I am and forever will be a female. So what message do I want to bring to American teenagers and their families? I didn't need to be lied to. I needed compassion. I needed to be loved. I needed to be given therapy to help me work through my issues, not affirm to my delusion that by transforming into a boy, it would solve all my problems. We need to stop telling 12-year-olds that they were born wrong, that they are right to reject their own bodies and feel uncomfortable with their own skin. We need to stop telling children that puberty is an option, that they can choose what kind of puberty they will go through, just so they can choose what clothes to wear or what music to listen to. Puberty is a rite of passage to adulthood, not a disease to be mitigated. Today, I should be at home with my family celebrating my 19th birthday, and instead I'm making a desperate plea to my elected representatives. Learn the lessons from other medical scandals like the opioid crisis, to recognize that doctors are human too, and sometimes they are wrong. My childhood was ruined along with thousands of detransitioners that I know through our networks. This needs to stop. You alone can stop it. Enough children have already been victimized by this barbaric pseudoscience. Please let me be your final warning.
Think about that. This is happening in real time. The sad thing is, most parents are not watching. Most are not watching. Most leaders in conservative circles, Christians, many are not watching. They're not watching. They don't realize what's going on. So I'm thinking, is this likely coming to your city? Are you going to let it happen?
Enough is enough. How many more lives they want to do this experiment? How many more?
Leave the kids alone! No more silence! No more silence! Leave us alone! Leave us alone! Leave us alone!
I'm here because I think it's important for parents to have a say in what is being taught in school.
My son, my choice! My son, my choice! My son, my choice! My son, my choice!
And while some bills are being passed to stop this evil act, some are letting it continue. Republican majority passes sweeping anti-trans bill in Kentucky.
The Kentucky General Assembly passing a sweeping anti-trans bill. And the WHS 1119 was there in Frankfort for the vote tonight. The bill bans gender-affirming medical care for minors.
Despite the desperate cries,
I'm embarrassed and I'm appalled and I'm scared. I won't know.
And impassioned pleas.
How dare you? You're gonna kill kids. Their blood will be on your hands.
Kentucky GOP lawmakers succeed in getting anti-trans legislation to the governor's desk.
There is evidence that this is harmful to children. And that's our job, is to protect children, and that's what we're doing here.
And that's why we've got to do something about the young people. We've got to help them. We've got to do something about the young people. We have to have new ways of educating them. We've got to get out of the box and have new ways. Remember, today's formal educational system through the schools was a hijack of the educational system long ago by governments. It was never the way the governments made them to become. So there are many informal ways of educating children, young people.
Psalm 127 verses 3 to 5 says, "Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior, are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them."
Be sure to complete your study, take the quiz, create your unique avatar and post on King's Chat using the hashtags #WordFest6, #SolutionsEverywhere, and #YourZone or Ministry Center. It's not too late to join the festival. Register for free today if you haven't already. Invite others, share your testimonies, sponsor translations, and organize WordFest outreaches. Make today worthwhile and anticipate a greater experience tomorrow. WordFest 6, Solutions Everywhere.